What's up guys, Houndish here, and today it's Dungeon Day. So Bungie actually offer a handful of updates regarding the content launch this weekend. We'll touch on some of that stuff, including downtime and updates regarding disabled loot for the contest over the course of the next couple of days. So there's all of that to round up, as well as some of the rewards that we'll get access to in the dungeon, plus a couple of other updates regarding content this weekend. So I hope you guys find the update useful, and if you do, get subscribed so I can keep you posted with more Destiny stuff. But otherwise, let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to mention right here, of course, alongside the dungeon drop-in today, we'll get the first Xur visit for Revenant, and Xur will be selling a new exotic skimmer this episode, but just worth reiterating ahead of Xur's arrival that the Xurfboard, according to Bungie, will be available on week 2 of Revenant, which will be next Friday, October 18th, and Xur will be selling it for 97 strange coins. It essentially behaves like a one-time purchase option, so it stays in Xur's inventory until we buy it, then once we've bought it, we won't see it anymore. Not entirely clear as to why Bungie have staggered the release for this skimmer, but according to them, it won't be up this first week, so I thought that was worth reiterating ahead of Xur's arrival so folks aren't disappointed. It does, however, give us a bit of an opportunity to save up the 97 strange coins in order to purchase it next Friday. So bear it in mind nonetheless, and I will keep you posted when Xur arrives later on with the actual inventory for the week. And moving on, there has been some Destiny 2 maintenance today in preparation for the Vespers host dungeon race. So downtime between 6:45 AM PDT, and that's expected to end at 7:30 AM PDT, so by the time this video goes live, it'll pretty much be over. But if you've wondered why there's been some interruption with the game services, that is why. Plus, the Destiny 2 team have said, to ensure a fair playing field and to prevent errors during the Vespers host dungeon race, we're creating a list of weapons, armor, and abilities that will be disabled within the dungeon activity. And of course, we tend to see this with new raids and dungeon releases. And now we have the full list of items which are going to be disabled during the Vesper host dungeon race. Bungie had indicated that these would be disabled inside of the dungeon only. I'm not sure if that will be the case or if it's throughout the entire game, but for weapons, Wardcliff Coil, as well as Salvation's Grip, 1000 Voices, the Alathanum, Tomorrow's Answer, and Yesterday's Question will all be disabled. That's a pretty significant list actually, isn't it? So keep in mind if those can't be equipped, so you know why. Then for the Hunter, we've got Shadowshot, Mobius Quiver, and Deadfall, so Bungie ain't having any of that. For Titans, we've got Unbreakable and Peacekeepers being disabled, and then for artifact mods it will include Hail of the Storm. Otherwise, no specific Warlock pieces of gear are going to be disabled during this time. So there you go, if you're heading into contest, keep them in mind. And in terms of when they'll be re-enabled, it will be after contest is concluded, which will last for 48 hours. So again, daily reset on Sunday before they'll be turned back on. Only other thing to mention is that Bungie do have a web page for disabled items currently in the game, and if they have to add any additional ones to that during the dungeon race or across the course of the weekend, they'll be added to that web page. So I will link it down below in case you need to use it for clarification. Up next though, a quick reminder of some things linked to the launch of this dungeon. Firstly, completing the Vespers host dungeon during contest mode, which lasts up until Sunday evening, or daily reset on Sunday. Of course, it won't be evening for folks in the US, but completing the dungeon on contest will guarantee a drop of the Icebreaker Sniper. And as we've seen, this has been reworked from the D1 variant, so the Icebreaker perk allows defeating a target with the weapon to cause them to explode, and precision final blows or shattering a frozen target instead triggers an ignition. But the exotic bonus is no backpack, and final blows or assists with any other weapon or ability have a chance to create ammo for Icebreaker, and defeating powerful combatants will create multiple rounds. And so obviously a variation on the original version of the weapon right there. Plus Freezing Dart shared to D2 leaks, the Icebreaker catalyst appears to be called Icing Breaker. We'll probably get that catalyst through quest progression, maybe some collectibles inside of the dungeon, kind of like what we saw with Warlord's Ruin. But for the bonus on the Icebreaker catalyst, landing a hit on a slowed or frozen target has a chance to return the round to the magazine. So an additional layer right there of refundable ammo. Of course, that'll be affected by the type of targets that can actually be slowed or frozen. And in a way, that's sort of the limitation of the catalyst, but give us your thoughts down below. And of course, at least a handful of us will get to try Icebreaker out at some point in the next couple of days. There's also been some feedback, I believe it's Guardian rank 7. One of the objectives, if you're reaching that rank again for this episode, is to actually obtain the Icebreaker. And so outside of contest in the next couple of days, there will be a reasonably significant RNG lockout on that rank, which of course has been some negative feedback about. I kind of understand that, to be fair. So in a sense, your best bet is to actually get the dungeon done on contest if you can. Kind of a strange choice on Bungie's part, but we'll see how it pans out. I guess we'll actually have to wait and see what the dungeon is like. But give us your thoughts about that down below. Other notes regarding the launch for the dungeon though from Bungie right here. Contest mode, once again, will be enabled for 48 hours, and normal mode will be available as soon as the first 3 fire teams clear the dungeon. So for any folks who don't want to go through the contest variant, probably within the first few hours normal mode will become available, unless of course this turns out to be extremely difficult or something. But players will need to be at 1985 power level to be at the cap through all encounters during contest, and so for most active players that isn't going to be a concern. Otherwise, for entry requirements, we need to assemble a fire team of 3 players and start the Vespers Host dungeon in contest mode from the planet system map. But all fire team members must own the Final Shape dungeon key and acquire the quest Rogue Network from the Spider in Last City's seasonal hub. So before you even try and launch into that, be sure to grab the Rogue Network quest. I'm also kind of curious to see Spider's role as a vendor in the hub. In general, at least there'll be a quest right there. And for completion criteria, Bungie point out once the final encounter is complete, the fire team must loot the final chest, or their finish may not be recorded, and the team's official finish will be recorded when they loot the chest. Also, at least one member of the fire team must have completed and received loot for every encounter, and it must be the first time completing the activity for all members of the fire team. So dungeon contest info right there. There's also an emblem that can be unlocked for players who complete it during contest, and that is a pretty cool one right there. So that's the dungeon info, and that concludes the video for today. Let us know if you're excited to try Vespers Host out. Kind of interesting that it's a DSC dungeon of some sort, because there were rumors a couple of years ago that Bungie were working on a dungeon related to Deepstone Crypt. So perhaps those rumors were true, and maybe these are the fruits of that labor. For now though, give us your thoughts, have a good weekend whatever you get up to. Plus the rating down below really does help us on the channel if you found the video useful, and again, get subscribed if you like these updates, as I'll have more to come, as always. Otherwise though, cheers for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.
Last broadcast repeats. Life support is failing. The corruption is spreading. Get out! Get out! Broadcast repeats.